Credit card interest rates are too damn high. Trump, during his campaigning, said that he wants to impose a 10% credit card interest rate cap on all credit cards. It's going to be huge. It's going to be one of the best banking reform legislations we've ever seen. The only thing that won't be huge are your credit card bills. They'll be quite small. Not as small as my hands, though. In this video, we're going over, do we even need this? How's it going to affect me? Can the president even do that? Will it actually happen? Let's go! We got a big problem, America. Half of all credit card owners have a balance that carries over month to month, meaning credit card debt. The other half pay them all off within the month. Very good. That's what I do. Don't use it a lot, but yes, I do have a credit card and I pay it off every month. Sorry, Dave Ramsey. So how much debt is actually being carried over month to month? $1 trillion. Yeah, like $1.2 trillion? Yikes. That's a crap load of debt to the tune of like $6,000 or $7,000 for the average American family having credit card debt. Oof, we need some help here. And with inflation and all the other crap that's going on, stuff is just getting more and more expensive, meaning people are having to put more and more on credit cards.
Cocaine isn't cheap. It's expensive. Gotta make money.
Where's it gotta stop, fellas? Well, Trumpy's trying to help. He's trying to put in that 10% cap for interest rates.
This is what I'm talking about, America!
Which will certainly help, because we're talking like 23% interest rates for the average credit card. Yikes. My mortgage is like 6.75, all right? And I am freaking out at the amount of interest I gotta pay. 23%? Holy shnikes, that's a lot. Putting in a cap will certainly reduce people's credit card bills, but will they actually use that extra savings to like pay down their credit? I don't know. You know the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it pay off debt. You made it this far, you dig the vibe, so go ahead and hit subscribe. All right, how is this thing gonna affect regular Joes like you and me? I can see 3 different outcomes. If you're like me, you pay your credit card off every month, you don't carry a balance, you don't really gotta worry about the interest rate. So in that case, there's no effect. Number 2, you do have a credit card balance and you're carrying it over month to month. You're riding that struggle bus trying to pay it off, right? So your bill would actually be lowered. Sounds great. I'm actually all for it. I'm all for people saving money and getting their finances under control.
Good boy. Yeah, good boy.
The third one is a little tricky, because if you're like me, you pay your credit card off every month. Lenders will give me a credit card, no problem. Oh, Andy? Oh yeah, he pays his off every month. Yeah. We'll give him a credit card, no problem. But let's take Brian, for instance. Brian, he's a little sus on paying his bills. So the credit card companies are gonna look at him and like, Brian? Brian wants a credit card? Ugh, yikes. If we're gonna give Brian a credit card bill, we're gonna need some odds. Maybe he'll pay it, maybe it won't.
Where's my money? You gonna give me my money? Where's my money, man?
To offset that risk of Brian's sus habits, they're gonna jack up his rates because it's more risky for them to loan Brian money on the credit card. That's where the whole thing comes in. So these higher risk people, these dudes are a little shaky. Maybe didn't take Financial Peace University from Dave Ramsey.
Dude, you're broke.
And they're a little more risky when it comes to their spending habits. Credit card companies need something to incentivize them to issue these people cards. And if there's a 10% cap, those risky people are gonna be SOL. They're not gonna have credit cards. They're gonna be cut off. The risk isn't gonna be worth it for credit card companies to give these people a credit card. So if you need credit, that may be a good thing if you don't have a credit card.
Oh, that's cold.
It's just like when the automobile came around in the early 1900s, the horse industry went obsolete within like 10 years. So what did they do? They found other work. Risky credit card people have to do the same thing. They gotta find other ways to get this money that they need. And with gig economies and all this other fancy internet crap going on, maybe they should like broaden their horizons. So it might be a good thing if you don't have a credit card. I'm just saying. Let's talk about if Trump actually has the power to do this. The short answer is no. He cannot make like an executive order and just say, oh, cap 10%, that's kind of like how he tried to make a wall around Mexico. Gonna make Mexico pay for it, gonna build a wall. If you haven't been keeping up, that did not age well. But what can happen is Congress can pass a law. So what would have to happen is senator or a congressman would have to write up this law and then have it go through both the House and the Senate, and then the president would have to sign it. That can absolutely happen. I know Bernie Sanders had said that he was actually going to spearhead the legislation, and Elizabeth Warren is in full support. As are, I'm sure, most Democrats are. Democrats tend to favor low and middle class legislations. Republicans tend to favor higher class legislations. So can he do it? Not directly, but in a roundabout way, yes. The last things we have to ask ourselves is this actually going to happen? And if it does, how effective is it actually going to be? So we see here Senate Banking Committee Chairman Tim Scott was opposed to banking regulations like late fee crackdowns when it was Biden's idea. But he's a Republican, so now that it's Trump's idea, he might be changing his tune. It's like, oh, Biden, no, we can't do that. No. Oh, it's Trump's idea? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, this sounds like a really good idea. Funny how that works. We'll have to see. That's one factor that we need to look out for. He is in the camp of worrying about whether those high-risk Bryans are going to lose access to their credit, which unfortunately a lot of people need to survive, whatever their situation is. I don't know. You don't know. This is a judgment-free zone. The judgment-free zone, people. We don't judge here. Another thing we need to look at is that big banks have been very resistant to capping their interest rates. I would be too. That's a crap load of money, to the tune of $25 billion a year. So yeah, I wouldn't want people messing with my billions either. And the thing about very large banking corporations is they tend to contribute to politicians' election funds. They're going to want a return on their investment, so to speak. So, let's say a big ass bank contributed millions to Trump's re-election campaign. And then Trump goes, kicks them in the nuts, and limits their interest rates that they can charge. Not going to be too happy. That might impact future Republican funds that those people give. You're just like, this dude's kicking me in the nuts. I'm not going to give him any money. Heck no. So it's quite more complicated than just doing what is right by the American public. Everyone's got their feelers. Everyone's in everyone's pocket. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. That's just how the country's been run for eons and eons. The biggest hurdle I see to this is that bank interest rates are actually set by a state law, not a federal law. So think of it like legalizing marijuana. The federal law says it's banned, but the states can legalize them one state at a time. And if you live in a state with legalized marijuana, you probably know that it's pretty rampant.
Oh man,
What?
I'm so high right now. I have no idea what's going on.
Same thing with interest rates. The state law that the bank has to follow is where their headquarters is. And since most banks here are South Dakota, Delaware, and Utah, we're really looking at like 3 states that we need to be concerned with if we want any serious change to these credit card interest rates. So while I would love for an interest rate cap to be put in place, it's looking less and less likely. However, it is possible. I would love it. I'm sure all the trumpets would love it, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. Go Crush!